Hello and welcome to day 4 of P7 Prepare to Pass webinar being organized by ACCA Pakistan. I am Kashif Kamran, your tutor. Now the agenda for day 4 is to focus on other assignments. And before proceeding on with the day 4 agenda, I'll be first looking after something we left on the day 3, that is to look at the type 2 of the evidence question. So let's first go back to the type 2 of the evidence question and then come back with the block 4, which is other assignment, which is the agenda for the day 4. Okay, and I hope you remember that towards the end of the day 3 yesterday, we were looking at a topic which is known as evidence. And particularly, we were looking at the type 2 of the question, which comes on evidence. The type 1 was basically where we need to focus on the evidence in the working paper file, which resulted into a copy of something, results of something, extracts of something, etc. Now, towards the end of the day 3 yesterday, we came down with the type 2 evidence. And the type 2 evidence was focused on the sufficiency and appropriateness of evidence. And I did mention that this type 2 is much important for the March 18 exams. So we made a list of what basically sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence means. And I hope you're clear on that list. And we even started a question, which was December 16, question number 2. We were partly into that question when the session times ended. Okay, now I hope we can do a quick recap, then come back to the December 16 question. I hope everyone remembers the grounds for sufficiency and everyone remember what we concluded on in terms of the sufficiency of the audit evidence and in terms of the appropriateness of the audit evidence. Now, knowing what sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence is, the question which comes on this was to comment on it. Now, we have to read the case to find whether the evidence gathered in the case is sufficient or not, or whether the evidence gathered in the case is appropriate or not. So yesterday, while we were reading that asset held for sale scenario, we found some issues with the sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence that was obtained. We did found that we only discussed the accounting treatment with the management, but we did nothing else than discussing the accounting treatment. So just discussing the accounting treatment and doing nothing on the accounting treatment or not verifying the accounting treatment, I think that was a big lacking on part of the auditor. Secondly, we even did found that we just did the arithmetical check of the journal. We didn't performed anything on the conditions of the IFRS 5. So I hope you all remember the scenario we were discussing yesterday, asset held for sale, in terms of finding the sufficiency and appropriateness of the audit evidence. I just need a quick yes and no from the attendees that I hope you recall what we did yesterday, asset held for sale, and you are participating into it. You can recall exactly from where am I picking the webinar on day 4. So that's exactly where we ended the day 3 yesterday, right? I'm just picking from that point and we are moving ahead into that discussion. Now, what I believe is that yesterday when we were looking at a question which was asset held for sale, and we had 9 marks to gain. Everyone remembers the marking scheme for that. The 9 marks to gain on asset held for sale. Now, we had to do 3 things in that question. Number 1, we had to comment on the sufficiency. We had to comment on the sufficiency and appropriateness of the audit evidence. That was the first requirement. Second, we had to make procedures. And thirdly, we had to identify the weaknesses. We had to identify the weaknesses. So three things to be done for 9 marks, right? And I did mention that yesterday, that every aspect carry 1 marks. When you comment on the sufficiency, you take 1 mark. When you write a procedure, you take 1 mark. And when you find a weakness, you take 1 mark. So in terms of everything we are doing in that, we're taking 1 mark. Now the best technique for exam paper is when for 9 marks, when the marking scheme is the same, and you have to do like 3 things. First from the case, find this comment on the sufficiency. This should be your number 1 priority. Now suppose you found like two points which relates with sufficiency or appropriateness. Now in the whole case, you found just 2 issues which relates with sufficiency and appropriateness of evidence. So that will automatically give you 2 marks. Is everyone getting my point of view on that? So in the whole case, if there is like 2 things which relates with sufficiency and appropriateness, I'll be commenting on those 2 things and I'll be taking my 2 marks. Is that right? Is that clear with everyone? Yes, obviously we have to explain the point. And I'm just saying that if we pick a point from the case which relates with sufficiency, will that start giving me the marks? So suppose in the whole case, there are just 2 comments on sufficiency. So those 2 comments on sufficiency will give me 2 marks, right? Then weaknesses. Suppose in the case there are 2 weaknesses. I think we found those 2 weaknesses yesterday. We found the weakness that the finance director was passing the journal entry. And we even found that there was no one with the competence in the accounts department. Now we found the 2 weaknesses. Now once you found the sufficiency, then you can find the weaknesses. And suppose the weaknesses give you 2 marks. Now this procedures is a fill in the blank. Every time in the exam paper, when you get a question like such, first identify the sufficiency, then identify the weaknesses, and whatever is left will be allocated to procedures. Now in my equation, I have 2 points for sufficiency, I have 2 points for weakness. So that means the balance would come for procedures. So that means I need to make how many procedures then for the balance? Is everyone participating into that? How many procedures will I need to make to balance the equation of 9? 5, exactly. So I should write 5 here. So is that clear to everyone, that when you get a question like such, you will first identify the sufficiency, you will then identify the weakness, and whatever is left, you will then write procedures. So procedure is a balancing number, right? Procedure is a balancing number. Procedure is balancing. So procedures can be more, procedures can be less, depends upon how many sufficiencies and how many weaknesses have you identified. So is that clear with the marking schemes and how to go about with allocation of marks? Bilal Qureshi, no. Procedures we are performing at the type 2 questions are at the planning stage. No, procedures, irrespective of what stage you are performing, remains the same. The tone remains the same. The writing style remains the same. So don't get confused with that planning stage or performance stage or something like that. Procedure means procedure, right? And the rule we made yesterday for procedure should go on in the session today as well. Okay, so is everyone clear how to allocate 9 marks? So you will first find what? You will first find from the case what? Can I take a quick feedback? From a case, if you get a type 2 question, what will you find first? The sufficiency of the evidence. Perfect. Then second, what will we find from the case? The weaknesses. Good. So, and the remainder will go to what? The remainder will go to the procedures. Perfect. So everyone knows what is to be done, right? So let's do an exercise now. Let's go back to the question we were doing yesterday. Now the question we were doing yesterday is now right in front of your screens. asset held for sale. That was exactly the phenomena we were doing yesterday. Now my answer with the handout do support that you have to make 5 procedures, and I have made 5 procedures. I'll just show you my answer, but I'm not just going back to the 9 marks. We have discussed a lot yesterday on the 9 marks. Let's go a step down and let's find the capital expenditure. Now, how many marks we have for capital expenditure? 7. So 7, how would I allocate the 7 marks? First, I will find the sufficiency. First, I will find the sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence. Second, I will find the weaknesses. And after that, I'll see how much marks are left. Whatever marks are left, I'll make procedures on it. So let's read the case. Let's see how many sufficiencies and how many weaknesses will I find and how many procedures exactly I have to write. Okay, let's go down with it. Okay, let's read the case. Okay, when auditing the company's capital expenditure, the audit team selected a material transaction to test and found that the key controls over capital expenditure were not operating effectively. How many sample I took? How much sample I took to test the internal controls? How many samples I took to test the internal controls? 1, right? So selecting a material transaction, that is like few samples, or that is like not something which is insufficient, something which is insufficient. So is my evidence sufficient in this case? Is my evidence sufficient in this case? Absolutely no, right? Because I just took one transaction. I just took one transaction to verify the controls over internal controls. So that one is insufficient. That one is insufficient, right? So I got my first point. Okay, so the audit team selected a material transaction to test controls and found that the controls over the capital expenditure were not operating effectively. Authorization had not been obtained for an order placed for several vehicles. So is that the first weakness? Authorization had not been obtained. So authorization had not been obtained. So can I say this is my weakness number 1? W1, weakness 1. Okay, and what is the second weakness? Appropriate segregation of duties over initiating and processing of the transaction was not maintained. So is there proper segregation? No. So should I count this as my W2, the weakness 2? Yes. So have I found that the evidence I gathered was insufficient because I just took one sample? And have I found that there are like 2 weaknesses, one weakness over the authorization and one weakness over the segregation of duties? So out of the 7 marks, how many marks have I taken so far? Out of the 7 marks, how many marks have I taken so far? 3. Perfect. Okay, let's read the para 2. The audit team noted details of the internal control deficiency and updated the system notes on the permanent file to reflect the deficiency. So the audit team noted the details of the deficiency, right? They did noted the deficiency. I think that's good, right? To note the deficiency. So they did noted the deficiency and they did updated the system note on the permanent file to reflect the deficiency. Should we just note the deficiency, or should we even inform the deficiency to the management? Should we just note the deficiency, or should we inform the deficiency to the management as well? So had the auditor missed both? Had the auditor missed one of them? So should the auditor inform the deficiency? So should I criticize the auditor, comment on the sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence? So should I say the auditor should have communicated that to the management? So am I getting a second point here on the sufficiency and appropriateness of evidence? That I only noted the details. I just noted, right? I didn't inform. So that was a big blunder on part of the auditor. So comment on the sufficiency and appropriateness. So I think this is not appropriate, right? That you just note and you don't inform the management. Okay, so 4 marks so far. The audit work completed on this order. The audit work completed on this order means that single order, the single sample. So on the single sample, the audit work completed on this order was to agree the purchase of the vehicles to the purchase invoice and to the cash book and bank statement. Okay, that's one good thing, right? That we agree that the purchase of the vehicle to the purchase invoice, to the cash book and to the bank statement. In terms of that, that's fine. But we did that only on one sample, right? Is everyone agree with that? We did that only on one sample. For just one sample, we verify the purchase invoice. For one sample, we just verify the bank statement. And for one sample, we just verify the so on and so forth. Neelam Shahzadi, you're saying, sir, please tell me the tip to differentiate between sufficiency and deficiency. Obviously, Neelam, sufficiency relates with the auditor, right? The auditor must have done some mistake. And the deficiency is in the controls of the company. I think that's a pretty simple thing. Deficiency is in the system of the company. The deficiency belongs to the management, whereas the sufficiency belongs to the auditor. So the rest of the work was completed in accordance with the audit program. Now, see, first, before attacking the procedures, yes, Safiyullah Riyaz, that's good. I'm coming to that. How many marks have I taken? First, I just took one sample. That was my first 1 mark. Then there is no authorization. That was my second mark. Then third was no segregation. Then fourth was I just noted, but I didn't communicate it. And the fifth was I just worked on one order and I just looked at the cash book and the bank statement and the purchase invoice. So I got 7. Out of the 7, I got 5. Now, how much procedure should I write? How much procedure should I write? 2. Okay, and what 2 procedures would I write? Should I verify the existence of the vehicle? Should I verify the existence of the vehicle because that has not been verified? Should I verify the existence of the vehicle? Yes. And should I review the useful life of the vehicle, or should I recalculate the depreciation of the vehicle? Because it's a capital expenditure, right? So I should verify the physical existence of the vehicle, and I should also look at the depreciation of the vehicle. So can that make my 2 procedures? Can that make my 2 procedures? Yes. Okay, the ownership of the vehicle, right? The ownership of the vehicle can already be verified. You have checked the purchase invoice. So Sharmila Siddiqui, purchase invoice verifies the ownership, right? So I think that's good. Right. Sarah Khan, 5 marks have been gained. Go back, start with the question. The first one was that we selected one single transaction, 1 mark. Then lack of authorization is the second mark. Then the segregation is the third mark. Then we just noted details and we did nothing. That is the 4th mark. And then we just verify the purchase invoice, nothing else. That is the 5th mark. So we left with 2 procedures. No, Qasim Abdul Rashid, that is a very illogical procedure. You just need to make procedures on the vehicle. So would I be verifying the physical existence of the vehicle and the depreciation? Sounds better. Yes, the other procedures, Nader Ahmed, is in my handout. Please review my handout for answers. You will get other procedures. But it's more like an F8 paper when you're making procedure on a vehicle. You can verify the rights of the vehicle. You can verify the depreciation of the vehicle. You can verify the existence of the vehicle. So there can so many things you can do on the vehicle. Yes, we can check the board minutes for the capital expenditure approval. Kamran Nazir, that's good. That's good enough. That's good enough. Okay. Is everyone clear with those 7 marks? Is everyone getting the sense how to attack the 7 marks? Is everyone getting a clear concept? How would you go about with the 7 marks? So in an exam, if you get a question 2, type 2, and you have to work on 3 things, will you be finding those 3 things from the case and balancing your marks? So let's do one final exercise. If I look at the capital expenditure, the one we were just doing, and the capital expenditure has how many marks? 7. So what is the first thing I have to do? Sufficient, appropriate, audit, evidence. How many times I criticize the sufficiency? Number 1, I criticize the sufficiency because I just took 1 sample. So 1 sample means 1 mark to write. Then the second was I just noted, but I didn't discuss with the management. So I got my another 1 mark. I got my other 1 mark for this. I got another 1 mark for that. The third thing was that I only verified the purchase invoice. Only verified the purchase invoice. So just only verifying the purchase invoice, is that sufficient? Is that appropriate that I only verify the purchase invoice, nothing else? Is that sufficient? Is that appropriate? The attendees need your enthusiasm. Is just verifying the purchase invoice only, is that sufficient and appropriate? No. So I'll gain another 1 mark out of the 7. Okay, then the second thing was to find the weaknesses. The first weakness I found was no authorization. So with no authorization, I'll take another 1 mark. And then another deficiency I found was what? That was no segregation of duties. No segregation. Will that give me another 1 mark? So see how many marks have I taken so far? 5. So how much should be allocated to procedures to make 7? How much should be allocated to procedures to make 7? 2 marks. So should I write procedures for 2 marks then? Should I write a procedure to verify the physical existence of the vehicle? And should I write a procedure to verify the depreciation of the vehicle? Will that be sufficient to write my 7 marks answer? I hope you're getting my points. If you know the mind map, you can easily write the answer because the answer is with you in the hard copy format that has been uploaded for you. And the answer is there, which you can see. But I will again prefer write the answer first yourself, then see my answer. First practice yourself. The good thing you can do in exam, first make a mind map. First see how would you go down with 7 marks. A lot of time I've seen students, they don't do planning, they just rush to conclusions. Is that 7 marks planning giving us some benefit? Is the 7 marks planning giving us some benefits? Does that make a picture clear? Okay, how should I go with 7 marks? And do a good planning leads to a better execution? So if you do a good planning, will it lead to a better execution? Yes, 1/3 of the time should be on planning, Muhammad Umar, perfect. I hope you do that in exam paper. I've normally seen students not doing that. 1/3 of your time should go on planning because that will really help you making a good answer to P7, good answers to P7. Is that everyone clear with capital expenditure? Are you getting some clarification on the type 2 question? Is everyone getting some clarification on the type 2 question? So will you be finding the sufficiency from the case? Will you be finding the weaknesses from the case? And will you be finding, and then you will be writing the procedures, right? Okay, I hope Neelam Shazadi, your life sounds easier now with P7. I hope this goes into the 5th of March when you have your actual exam paper. Please try to implement whatever you are learning. Try to have a proper implementation of whatever you're learning from these sessions, because that is exactly what counts at the end of the day. But if you still bring your own myths, whatever I'm telling you, and you bring your own myths, you bring your own philosophies, you bring your own ideas to it, I think you're spoiling what should be implemented. I hope you stick to my tips and techniques, whatever you're learning on these webinar, and I hope you get through this time, particularly those repeating papers and repeating it for many attempts, right? Okay, is everyone clear with that? I'll do one quick recap of the sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence, a type 2 question that's just right after the namaz break, and we'll be starting on with the day 4 agenda. Please do read my answers. Please do read my answer for writing a type 1 and for writing a type 2, and I hope you come good with that. And please write the answer first yourself and then see my answer, because if you just see my answer, that will be a big distraction. First write, then see my answer, and see where are you standing. Where are you standing? Is everyone clear with that? Is everyone clear with that? So can we take now a prayer break? Right, we're taking a prayer break. Gulam Kadir Chandio, your question was, one purchase invoice verified is appropriate but not sufficient. Gulam Kadir, your question, I've just missed your question out. If you can repost your question, please answer where I cannot find you. Please don't get confused with sufficiency and appropriateness. These are like together. These are like together, right? Sufficiency, appropriateness goes together. It's like one bundled word. That is a jargon. That is a jargon. So I, in exam, please don't get to the classification. This is sufficiency. No, this is appropriateness. I'm seeing the same problem, that you get confused with classifications. You get confused with the classification. That was in ethical and professional issues. That is coming now again, that you try to get confused with ethical and professional issues. Please don't get confused with sufficiency and appropriateness. That is one word, that is one jargon that goes together. Sufficiency and appropriateness of evidence. So irrespective, you're writing the answer. You're not saying, no, this is insufficient, no, this is inappropriate. You cannot do that. Okay, Gulam Kadir Chandio, auditor failed to inform management regarding deficiencies. Yes, that is highly inappropriate on part of the auditor, that he failed to inform the management. So I'll say that is something to be criticized on part of the auditor. Is it the failure rather than auditor? No, it's obviously the failure means that you were not appropriate. You should have been appropriate to inform the management, but you didn't inform it. So obviously that failure is hitting your appropriateness. You should have informed this to the management. So the failure in this question is basically hitting your appropriateness, Gulam Kadir Chandio. Okay, the namaz break, right? And we'll resume after. I hope you get clear with things. And a lot of time I've seen students, they do ask so many logical questions which just spoil the tone of the topic, or which just spoil the essence of the topic. Stick to fundamentals, stick to clarity. A lot of time you take so many illogical assumptions and you start making so much of the stories around the topic. What if this happened? What if that happened? What if this happened? And that starts spoiling the topic. That just starts spoiling the essence and the tone of the topic. So you need to be closer to the exam paper rather than you making your own assumptions and own stories and going far away from what the exam paper is. So you need to believe first in your tutor, you need to believe in the tips, and you need to believe that the tutor sharing P7 with you is experienced in terms of of handling this paper for last so many years. So please have a trust relationship, which itself is very, very important. I hope everyone is clear, right? Okay, the prayer breaks, right? It's 6:35 and we will be back at 6:45. Okay, welcome back post prayer breaks. Okay, now just one final 5 minutes and moving towards the agenda for the day 4, which is to work on other assignments. Now, please be very realistic when you are attempting a question on evidence in P7. Be very realistic with the type 1. Please try solving questions on type 1. Please try solving questions on type 2. There are few right on type 2, but there are many on type 1. Please ensure that you are clear with type 1 and you know the marking scheme. You know how the marks have to be allocated. You should be clear with solving the type 2, and you should also know the marking scheme of the type 2, and you should know what's the difference between the two. Now, obviously, assertions are not playing any part in P7, Qasim Abdul Rashid. It was just the capital expenditure where we just spontaneously thought we should verify the existence of the asset, because obviously that's so natural that the most important thing for an asset is in existence. Apart from that, obviously, there are no assertions in P7. That is all what we do in an F8 paper, not in a P7 paper. So P7 is way beyond assertions. We just make procedures. We're not confined to making things down to procedure. So don't bring any confusion of assertions, right? Qasim Abdul Rashid. Okay, is everyone clear with type 1 and type 2? Everyone knows what is to be done when a type 1 question comes in? And is everyone clear what is to be done when a type 2 question comes in? Yes, type 2 is more important for March, but still wait for Saturday, the last day of the webinar, where I would reveal the suspense and will come across what is high probable for March 18 exams. I just want your enthusiasm till Saturday so that you keep building up your enthusiasm to know what is more likely for March 18 exams. Yes, to test assertion is an audit procedure, but that's what we do in an F8 paper, right? Don't think about assertions to a P7 paper. So a quick final feedback. Is everyone clear with type 1 and type 2? Is that clear with everyone? Type 1 and type 2 questions. You know how to deal a type 1 and you know how to deal with type 2. And you will practice the types so that you know effectively how to write in an answer and how to score in the marks, right? So if everyone is clear with type 1 and type 2, and also we discussed the difference between writing a procedure and writing evidence yesterday, that a procedure starts with a verb and an evidence starts with a copy of or results of, extracts of, so on and so forth. Yes, to test the assertion is an audit procedure, Fahad Shabir. I agree with that, but again, that's not part of the P7 paper. You do that in F8, but it is difficult part of P7, Qasim Abdul Rashid. Which part? The evidence part, Qasim Abdul Rashid? I think most of us makes things difficult because we lack the natural ability. You are coming to P7 from F8. You should have the fundamentals, effective fundamentals very clear. And it's more about that we think beyond some subject matters to make things difficult for us. But I don't believe evidence is a difficult part of P7. It's such an easier part. It's so rule based. We yesterday made rules for procedures, we made rules for evidence, we made rules for type 1, we made rules for type 2. So a student exactly knows what he has to do when procedures comes in. A student exactly know what he has to do when evidence comes in. A student exactly know what I have to do when a type 1 comes in. And a student exactly know what I have to do when type 2 comes in. Azimullah Bhatt, other than purchase invoice, obviously will verify the physical existence of the vehicle. We'll go down to the premises to see the physical existence of the vehicle. We'll also be looking at the good receiving note of the vehicles, and we should also be looking at the useful life. Is that useful life appropriate for the vehicle? And we should also be recalculating the depreciation of the vehicle. That's so typical fixed asset procedures you do in F8 exams. Okay, I'm exiting from this topic. I hope you practice and you come good down with evidence. Is everyone clear on this? I'm going exiting and starting the next one. Okay, the agenda for the day 4. of this webinar is to prepare you for other assignments. And other assignment is such an important area for P7 exams. And as your most frequently asked questions, what is important for March 18 exams? Then for other assignments, the two very important other assignments which are important for the March 18 exams, I'm covering both in my webinar. So no one should ask me what are important other assignments. The two which I am covering in this webinar are the two which are most important for March 18 exams. Due diligence, no chance. Due diligence came in September 17 exams. Performance information, no, that came in December 17 exams. So I think you will be wasting a lot of time if you're doing due diligence. You will be wasting a lot of time if you're doing performance information. So where you should be focusing on is exactly what you will learn now under the topic other assignment. That is the most highly probable areas for March 18 exams. Let's start with it. Okay, there are 3 session questions we'll go through. There are 2 home questions you will go through. Yes, environmental audit, something like that has already come in December 17. So no, not worried about that. Forensic accounting is an article you will read, must read. Forensic is important, right, for March 18, so you should read the article. You should be crystal clear on forensic accounting, and you should know what exactly forensic accounting is. Yes, Asim Iqbal, we can predict P7 because P7 is so predictable in terms of its structure, design, same examiner, and with experience, you learn that there are so many things which comes once in a blue moon. There are so many things which come so regular. There are so many things which are core part of the paper. There are so many things which are essential to a 100 marks paper. So obviously, a tutor can predict what looks likely. That's difficult on part of a student, right? Because examiner do repeat, but examiner don't repeat some things the next attempt. Yes, examiner can repeat audit risk. Yes, 1 attempt, 2 attempts, 3 attempts, perfect. But can examiner repeat due diligence 1 attempt, 2nd attempt? Never. Can examiner repeat performance information 1 attempt, 2nd attempt? Never. Yes, topics do repeat, but they don't repeat 1 attempt, 2nd attempt. Some topics do repeat, and those topics are already in my list. Audit risk came last time. I'm still predicting audit risk will come this time. So I hope you are clear, Asim Iqbal. Audit risk came last time. I'm still predicting audit risk will come this time. So in terms of predictions, I do look at repetitions. Okay, let's start with this topic. Now, the very first other information, the very first other assignment, we're looking for is a prospective financial information, which is utmost important for March 18 exams. Now, what you should be knowing as a student in terms of prospective financial information. First of all, prospective financial information is a review engagement. And any engagement which is review, carries a moderate level of assurance, also known as a limited level of assurance, and also known as a negative level of assurance. Please, the attendees, if you can refrain from asking questions with terms of what is important and what is not. I've just told many times that is an agenda for Saturday, and whatever I'm covering in the webinar is basically what is high likely for March 18 exams, so should be a clear message. And apart from that, what is important obviously is the day agenda for Saturday, and obviously I'm not discussing unimportant things. My 15 hours of this webinar is all focused on something which is important. So rather than asking that question again and again and wasting time, I hope that's better to focus on the topic. Okay, so prospective is a review engagement, right? And a review engagement means a moderate level of assurance. Review engagements, like a prospective financial information, is governed by ISAE 3400, so you should know the framework. Let's see, what is an auditor responsibility when it comes to prospective financial information? Auditor responsibility is to evaluate the appropriateness of the assumptions taken by the management in preparing the prospective prospective financial information. So obviously the prospective financial information is made by the management, like budgets, like forecast. So all these prospective informations, right, are prepared by the management, and the auditor should evaluate the appropriateness of the assumptions taken by the management. Management is responsible to make best estimates in preparing prospective financial information, right? So management prepares the prospective financial information, and they make the prospective financial information taking the best estimates. And what should the auditor do? The auditor should critically review these assumptions, right? So let's recap. Prospective financial information is a review engagement. Number one, prospective financial information being a review engagement is a moderate assurance. Number two, thirdly, the management makes a best estimate about the future, and the auditor should critically evaluate the assumptions taken by the management in making the prospective financial information. Okay, now these are key things to remember for PFI. What will you get in an exam paper? Now, PFI has come thrice. PFI has come in 3 instances. PFI has come in June 12. PFI has come in June 14. PFI has come in December 16. Right? Now, that was some of a question of a student that things comes repeating and so on and so forth. Obviously, the tutor knows things better. June 12, June 14, December 16. See what looks next. Looks next is 18. Every assignment has a repetition cycle. Right? 12, 14, 16 looks very probable for 18. Could be March 18, could be June 18. You're going for March 18, so take this as very important. It is prepared to take a bank loan. You need a prospective financial information to make your targets, like budgets. Management make budgets to set targets. Management makes prospective financial information to take a bank loan. In terms of offering shares to a stock market, IPO, initial public offerings, management do make forecast. So these forecast and budgets are not just needed for internal purpose. The forecast and budgets are also needed for taking a bank loan and for issuing shares on a stock market. Okay, so June 12, June 14, December 16, right? The 3 questions, I'll go with some of them in the session today so that you have a better idea what exactly the examiner asked for. Now, the June 12 question and the June 14 question were very similar in terms of the requirement. They did ask for procedures. Now, please remember one thing. For PFI, prospective financial information, the key success of a question on PFI is to know procedures. That is one of the assignment in P7 where the examiner tends to ask procedures. So procedure is a habitual part of a question on PFI, and that has come in all 3 instances. Procedures have come in June 12, procedures have come in June 14, procedure has come in December 16. So matters, and the second thing which comes in the PFI question is procedure. Second comes is the matters to consider before accepting an engagement. So I have to clarify that, right? I hope if someone is repeating P7 or has prepared well for P7, you should be knowing what are matters we consider before accepting engagement and in agreeing the terms of engagement. So examiner is asking 2 types of matters, right? What matters should I consider when I am accepting an engagement? And what matters should I consider when I am agreeing the terms of engagement? Agreeing the terms of engagement means the engagement letter. Agreeing the terms of engagement means the engagement letter. I hope everyone knows every engagement has an engagement letter. So the engagement letter terms are also examined as part of PFI. Yes, Sharmila, Siddiqui, Asim Iqbal, Muhammad Umar, Asim Iqbal, you're giving all right answers. Okay, now let's first go with one type of the question quickly. That is to look at June 12, June 14. The question in June 12 and June 14, which is on a prospective financial information. if I first make a segregation, now please, just like yesterday, I'll make my rules like type 1, type 2. I'll make my rules, listen to them carefully, and we get to exam paper as quickly as possible. Now, in terms of PFI, prospective financial information, if I look at the June 12 exam, and if I look at the June 14 exams, they focused on two things, right? They focused on procedures. Now, you must be familiar with procedures coming from yesterday. At least you should know the rules of how to make procedures, right? I hope everyone remembers the list of procedures we did yesterday. Yes, the verbs. And in the June 12 and the June 14 exam, the examiner asked for writing matters. Now, those matters were divided into two parts. The examiner asked to write matters before accepting engagement. And then the examiner asked to write matters in agreeing the terms of engagement. Right? Now, this was in agreeing the terms of engagement was in the June 12, and this before accepting engagement was in June 14. And interestingly, this before accepting engagement matters in June 14. See how systematic P7 is. Before accepting engagement matters, which came in June 14. This carries 6 marks. Then matters in agreeing the terms of engagement, which came in June 12 exams. This also carried 6 marks. So see how static the examiner is. Matters exactly 6, but changing before accepting, in agreeing. I hope you can see the difference between the June 14 and June 12. I'll be giving you a list of June 14 answer. I'll be giving you a list of the June 12 answer. But is everyone picking the matters before accepting and matters in agreeing, that the two types? So I'll give you examples of both, right? Okay, what are matters before accepting and what are matters in agreeing the terms of engagement? Is everyone clear with that breakdown of the question, which has been in the June 12 and June 14? Yes, I'm explaining by examples. I'm coming to it. So a June 12 and a June 14 question, right, did focused on procedures, and procedures is coming from day 3 yesterday. And the matters, these are not matters which we did in the type 1 question yesterday, MTR. No, these are matters before accepting engagement. These are matters in agreeing the terms of engagement, right? Those matters were for evidence. And when evidence matter comes in, we do write the MTR. Okay, so let's make an exercise. Before accepting, let's make one column. In agreeing, let's make one column, and then see if we can attack a question. Is everyone done with this particular mind mapping in front of you? I'm proceeding to the next discussion so that we can have 2 columns, before accepting and in agreeing. Okay, perfect. Okay, the next thing. Let's make 2 columns. And this side, we write matters for before accepting engagement, right? And on the other side, we write matters in agreeing terms of engagement. In agreeing terms of engagement. Right? Now, interestingly, this carries 6 marks. This carried 6 marks. Now, whenever you are agreeing the terms of engagement, whether it is for audit, you're agreeing the terms of engagement, whether it is for a non-audit service, will not make any difference. So, irrespective of the type of service, whichever service you are agreeing the terms of engagement with, will not make any difference to your answer. So, agree the terms of engagement either for audit or for non-audit will not make any difference. Same happens before accepting. Whether you are accepting audit or you are accepting non-audit will not make any difference to your answer. So before accepting, in agreeing, can it be applied to any service? Is everyone clear with that? Matters before accepting engagement. Can it be applied to any engagement? Yes. And matters in agreeing the terms of engagement, can that be applied to any engagement, irrespective of the engagement we are doing currently? Yes. Amaduddin Mughal, no. Fahad Shabir, no. No, that answer is wrong. The answer has to be yes. I'm getting a lot of yes answers, which is perfectly fine. Matters accepting an engagement, whatever the engagement is, the matters remains the same. So the matters will not vary from engagement to engagement. The matters will remain the same. Let's prove that. Let's prove that so that Amaduddin Mughal, you become clear on that. Okay, let's go with the list quickly. Before accepting engagement, if I'm accepting an engagement, okay, I'm not saying I'm accepting a new client. I'm accepting a engagement. I'm accepting a service. Am I accepting a new client? Am I accepting a new client? No. So will I do client screening? Will I do client screening? No. If I would have been accepting a new client, would I have done a client screening? Yes. And if I would have been accepting a new client, would I have corresponded with the previous auditor? But am I accepting a new client here, or am I accepting a service here? Am I accepting a service? Yes. So will I look at the client screening? No. So what is the matter before accepting engagement? Number one, I would first look at, before accepting engagement, that do I have competence? Competence versus the nature of service. So do I have competence to offer the service? Do I have the competence versus the nature of service? Yeah, yes, the skills. Yes, the skills. Agree, Vikram. Number two, competence. I'll consider ethical issues and I hope you remember this from the day 2. I hope you remember I did a topic with you, offering non-audit service to existing client. I hope you remember that, offering non-audit service to an existing client. Yes. So if I'm offering a non-audit service to an existing client, matters before accepting an engagement, will I be considering the ethical issues? I will be, right? I hope you remember the list of the ethical issues which I should consider when I'm offering a service to an existing client. They include either self-review or advocacy and self-interest. Yes, Asim Iqbal, professional issue is competence. Competence is the professional issue, agree. Competence is the professional issue, already written that, which is competence, agree. So will I consider my competence and will I consider my ethical issues before accepting an engagement? And apart from that, I'll also be considering my fees. How much fees should I charge? Will I be considering that before accepting engagement? How much fees will I be charging? And lastly, will I be considering my deadlines? How much time will the management be giving me to complete the assignment? Yes, so 6 marks divided by 1.5. The marking scheme for the matters before agreeing engagement is 1.5. So see, I got my 6 marks. I'll be focusing on my competence. I'll be focusing on the ethical issues. I'll be focusing on the fees. And I'll be focusing on the deadlines. Yes, resources, perfect. Resources can be part of competence, Fahim Ahmed. Resources can be part of competence. So competence is a very bigger point here, a very diversified point here. Competence includes your skills, your skilled staff, Ifra Anjum, skilled staff, resources are all part of it. So competent is a broad category, right? Asim Iqbal, agree with that. Resource. So is everyone clear with matters before accepting engagement? And can I apply the 4 to any engagement? Can I apply the 4 to any engagement? Yes. Management integrity, Muhammad Abadi, would come when I'm taking on a new client, not taking on a service. Okay, let's make a list quickly for in agreeing the terms of engagement. Now, when I'm agreeing the terms of engagement means writing a letter. And I hope everyone agrees that when you write a engagement letter, the engagement letter is a mutual agreement between the client and the auditor. And why do we write the engagement letter? Can anyone give me a quick response? Why do we write an engagement letter? We do write an engagement letter to avoid misunderstandings. Why do we make an agreement? To avoid misunderstandings. Everyone agree with that? The purpose of writing an engagement letter is to avoid misunderstandings between the auditor and the client. So what should I be writing in my engagement letter to avoid misunderstandings? Should I be writing about my fees in my letter to avoid misunderstandings on fees? Okay, should I be writing about my deadlines in the letter so to avoid any misunderstanding on the deadlines? Yes. Should I be writing my scope? Scope as per the laws, as per the applicable standards, because there might be misunderstanding on my scope. Okay. Should I be writing in my letter my scope, my deadline, my fees, even my assurance level, so that there is no understanding on the assurance level? So, Muhammad Amir, scope means your scope defined by the framework. Every service has a framework, right? So scope means exactly what you need to do and what is the limits and boundaries defined by the standard. So scope is your boundaries, scope is your limits. Yes, the deliverables, Salman Khan, agree. But yes, even agree that this terms of engagement will include responsibilities of the management and responsibilities of the auditor. But I hope you're getting the bottom line. The bottom line is that we write the engagement letter to avoid misunderstandings. Yes, scope is our objective, yeah, right? Osama, Sabir, agree with that. So is everyone clear with that? Engagement letter is written to avoid misunderstandings. So in my engagement letter, will I write about fees, deadlines, scope, assurance level? Because all of them can bring misunderstandings. And I'll be writing about the responsibilities of the management and auditor. Yes, the communication channel, I agree with that, Muhammad Abdi. And do we ask about clients' limits regarding the service we are going to perform? Yes, the client limits, management responsibility, basically, IFRA, that is basically management responsibility. I've written that at my point 5. Yes, agree with all the answers coming in, Farooq. Okay, so is everyone clear between the list of matters before accepting and matters in agreeing the terms of engagement? Both carries the same marks, 1.5 each. So same marking scheme, right? 1.5 each, 1.5 each. Gulshan, what should I repeat? Please repeat it. What should I be repeating? Please post your comment again. Asim Iqbal, what is to be answered? The slides you're writing on is available too, or do I have to write at the same time? Obviously, Asim Iqbal, when you're sitting into a webinar, you should have a writing pad or something to note things on. You should have a pen. Obviously, as you attend a class lecture, you're similarly attending a webinar, and you should have proper resources with you when you're sitting in a webinar, or you can take the screenshots. Obviously, technology has changed a lot of things. You can take the screenshots, you can write it down. Obviously, you cannot expect everything to be shared with you post webinar. So please go up down finding solutions. Okay, so is everyone clear with the list in blue and the list in red? Yes, Safila Riaz agree. That's more like a tender question we are doing currently. Yes, Sarah Khan, some of the matters repeat between before and after, because before is like a draft, and after the terms of engagement, the terms of engagement is more like a formal thing. So a lot of things which comes in blue list can go down into the red list. So is everyone clear between the blue and the red list? So that is one of the requirement which comes in PFI very commonly. Matters before accepting engagement and matters in agreeing the terms of engagement. I'd made a list very clear in the blue and red. Some things are repeating from blue to red. Anything which pertains with the auditor, like competence, like ethical issues, will not go from blue to red. So competence and ethical issue is what I am looking for myself. So I will not discuss that with the management. I'll not discuss that with the management. So competence and ethical issues, right, would remain in the blue list, will not be taken down to the red list. Okay, I'm moving on, right? Procedures. The next thing, which is part of PFI, prospective financial information, is to write procedures. And I just told you procedures came in all three instances: June 12, June 14, December 16. So procedure is such an important part of a question on a prospective financial information. Let's see what we have to do, though we learned the procedures yesterday, but there is some boundaries of procedures when it comes to PFI, because PFI is a review engagement. PFI is a review engagement. So can we do all in a PFI what we do in a reasonable assurance? Is there a difference between reasonable assurance and a moderate assurance? Is there a difference between a reasonable assurance and moderate assurance? Yes. So should I work less in a moderate assurance and should I work more in a reasonable assurance? So should I work less in a moderate assurance? Yes. And should I work more in a reasonable assurance? Yes. So PFI is a review engagement. Thus, the procedures are primarily restricted to AP, analytical procedures, and inquiry. See, what is the limitation? In audit, I can do so many things, right? In audit, I can review. In audit, I can recalculate. In audit, I can do APs. In audit, I can do discussions. The list we made yesterday, I hope you remember that list of procedures yesterday. But see, what is the limitation here? The limitation here is that I have to primarily restrict myself to AP and inquiry. Why? Because I'm offering a review engagement. So because I'm offering a review engagement, so I have to stick to analytical procedures and inquiry. Yes, Salman Khan, TOCs in PFI, TOCs is not part of the P7 syllabus. They're not at all in P7. So don't be worried about TOCs. So is everyone clear with the boundaries of procedures in PFI? We should stick to AP and inquiry, but that says primarily restricted. Primarily restricted means it should be our focus. It should be our priority, right? So can I do something after AP and inquiry? Can I do something after AP and inquiry? Primarily restricted to AP and inquiry. Can I do something after AP and inquiry? Yes. Primarily means not absolute. Primarily means this is your focus. This is your focus. So what should I focus on? I should focus on AP and inquiry. But can I do something after AP and inquiry? Can I do recalculation? Can I do recalculation? Yes. Can I do review yesterday? Can I do review? Yes. So I hope everyone picks primarily restricted does not means absolute, but should I restrict myself to AP and inquiry most of the time in an exam paper? Should I focus on that in my exam paper? Okay. Procedures are case specific. I hope you learned that yesterday. Procedures have to come from the case. I told you that facts and figures. I hope you remember that. Procedures have to come from the case. They have to be in the case. So you will read the case and you will find procedures. Each procedure is worth 1 mark. We had that from day 3 yesterday. Procedures are case specific. We had that from day 3 yesterday. An examiner generally splits the PFI procedures, into journal procedures and into specific procedures. I've seen examiner answers that when he is writing a PFI procedure, the examiner splits the PFI procedures into 2 categories, journal, specific. So journal procedures, specific procedures. I'll just guide you what they're. Specific means AP and inquiry, right? The specific means the AP and inquiry, which is our focus. What are journal procedures? I'm just giving you answer for that. No, we will not calculate materiality in PFI, Imran, Riaz. Is everyone clear with the basic structure of procedure? PFI is a review engagement, so we have to restrict ourselves to AP and inquiry. Procedures are case specific, and more importantly, each procedure is worth 1 mark, and examiner generally splits procedure between journal and specific. Okay, let's do one exercise on procedures and then start with an exam paper. Okay, now when an examiner asks you to write procedures on PFI, we will split procedures into 2. We will split procedures into journal, and we will split procedures into specific. Right? Now, specific means that in terms of the specific procedures, I first should be specific to the case. And when I'm specific to the case, my focus has to be on AP. My focus has to be on AP. And my focus has to be on inquiry. Now, then after focus, can I write procedures like review something once I've done my focus? And I can write procedures like recalculate. Is everyone becoming clear with that specific breakdown? So specific means from case, specific means we need to focus on AP and inquiry. And once I have done my focus, so can I move towards something like writing procedures with review and recalculation? Is that clear with everyone? Yes, review means inspect, Reperformance is not in P7. Reperformance, observation, they relates with system. When we are testing systems, we do reperform. When we are testing systems, we do observe. So please don't bring observations and reperformance to the P7 context. Just keep them out of your definitions and out of your mind when you're appearing for P7 exams. Okay, is everyone clear with the list of specific? Okay, let's look at the list of journal then. When you work on the list of journal are just 2 max. You cannot have more than 2 journal procedures. Number 1, I'm just writing it down, I'll make sense of it. The first journal procedure is to cast the prospective financial information. Is it important to do casting of the prospective financial information? Can there be an error in it? Should the auditor do the casting of the prospective financial information? Can there be an error in the prospective financial information? Numbers? I hope everyone knows cast. Yes, I was waiting for that question to come in. What cast means? Casting means the calculation 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Casting means to check the plus and minus, casting, totaling. Cast means totaling. Cast means 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, not recalculation. Casting is a jargon. Casting is a proper jargon. Casting means to check the calculations. Recalculation is like a formula. Casting is just to check that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 or 3 minus 1 is equal to 2 is the casting. It's very surprising, right? Though it's a P7 webinar and I expect students to be students reaching P7 level to be much more mature, asking for what is casting. Very strange enough, very strange enough. But again, I think I've made casting clear. Asim Iqbal, perfect. Casting is a simple maths. So casting means checking the calculations. Casting, yes, casting means to verify that the calculation is right. Arithmetical accuracy, Fahim Nayya, perfectly fine. Okay, cast the prospective financial information, and number 2 is to review consistency of accounting policies used in preparing prospective financial information. In preparing PFI. Consistency of accounting policies. You should also review that the accounting policies historically and the accounting policies in future are not changing. Because if there is a change in accounting policy, that will also impact your future numbers. So review the consistency of accounting policies. Review the consistency of accounting policies in order to ensure that the accounting policies used in preparing the PFI is perfect. Yes, that is basically an IAS retrospective. Nothing to be done, Asim Iqbal, in terms of PFI retrospective IAS 8. It's just a simple concept that the auditor will ensure that whatever accounting policies were in the historical financial statement, the same has been carried forward. The retrospective effect and the prospective effect, that's all with the historical financial statement. We're dealing with prospective financial information. Is everyone clear with the journal list of procedures? The 2, you can rote learn them. These journal procedures are rote learn. So that is one easy thing you can do. You can have rote learning of them, cast the prospective financial information, and review the consistency of the accounting policies. And once you've done the journal procedures, then you can move down with specific procedures. And after specific procedures, you need to focus on AP and inquiry. And after that, you can focus on review and recalculation. Okay, so one step closer to start of the past papers. Yes, obviously consistency in terms of the accounting standards, Amaduddin Mughal. After focus means your first focus is to make procedures on AP and inquiry. And once you have focused on AP and inquiries, you can then focus on review and recalculation. Okay, let's start with a practice session. Okay, I'm first looking at a question on PFI, which is from June 14 exams. Question number 2. Question 2 of the June 14 exam. And what are we practicing? Methods and procedures, right? Which we just learned. Okay, now if I go down and I see the requirements of the question, it says, explain the methods. Right? Explain the matters to be considered by Hunt and Company before accepting the engagement. Before accepting the engagement. So have I given you the answer of before accepting engagement, and you know how to make 6 marks here? Everyone knows the answer for 6 marks? Everyone knows what matters should we write before accepting the engagement? Right? So that is a very typical question, right, in PFI. Secondly, it says, assuming the engagement is accepted, describe the procedures. Describe the procedures. How many marks we have for describing the procedures? 8 marks. So how many procedures will I be writing? 8. 8 procedures. Is that right? 8 procedures, right? 8 marks, 8 procedures. Right? I told you yesterday on day 3, describe a procedure, recommend a procedure, explain a procedure. It will remain like a sentence, right? I hope you remember that. Sentence. Okay. Now what we need to do, we need to do 8 procedures. Now just have a common sense. If I need to write 8 procedures in an exam paper, will I minus 2 from it? because 2 are my journal, and minus 2 I get 6. 6 have to be specific, right? So in the 6 specific procedures, what should be my focus? My focus should be on what? In the 6 specific procedures, my focus should be on what? My focus should be on, perfect. My focus should be on AP and inquiry. Focus means what? 6, after the 6, if I need to focus on AP and inquiry, focus means something which is equal to 50%, is equal to at least 50%, right? At least 50% means you're focusing on something. Is that true? So after the 6 procedures, if I need to focus on AP and inquiry, will I tend to focus on like is equal to 50% and more? Can I make all 6 procedures using AP and inquiry? Can I make all 6 procedures using AP and inquiry? Yes, because that is maximum focus. But how much minimum procedure should I make using for AP and inquiry? How minimum procedure should I make using using AP and inquiry? At least 3 to 4. At least 3 to 4. Focus. But can I make all 6 procedures using AP and inquiry? Yes. So okay, that's so good to see your answers because that really boosts the morale on this side of the webinar where I can see this chat window and I can see your queries coming in and those yes answers and proper answers, 3, 4, every such things literally helps in knowing to pace up the lecture. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now this is exactly my way of attempting a question, right? When you go to the exam hall, you know the marks. First keep 2 minutes to study the marks. See how clear I am now. 8 marks minus 2, I know 6. 6 means specific and I should focus on AP and inquiry. Does that planning helps to make a good answer? Does that planning really helps in making a good answer? Yes. And how much of the times the repeaters on this attendee list have not done that in past papers? You just go to the exam hall and you look at a case and you start answering it. You even do not know how much marks is allocated. Should I divide it by 1? Should I divide it by 2? Should I divide it by 1.5? You just go to the exam hall and you rush after the answer. Right? So will that make any impact to your March 18 exams? The planning of the requirement, the planning of the requirement. Will you plan the requirement now in March 18? Will you see what is the examiner answering and how much should you be allocating? Will that make a big impact to your success and failure now? Okay, thank you so much for that quick feedback, the attendees. Good to see your enthusiasm again as with all the previous 3 days. Okay, let's go down now. I'm not answering the first 6 marks. You should do the 6 marks yourself. Matters before accepting engagement. Again, that is in my answer, where I should be focusing on not even the journal procedures, right? You will do the journal procedures yourself. Again, that's in my handout, but I should focus on specific. Let's find 6 specific procedures. Okay, let's go to the case. Now, when I look at the case, PFI, obviously PFI should have numbers, right? Number means you need to analyze. You cannot analyze without numbers. So numbers. What should I do first? Analyze. Analyze can be done in 2 ways, right? Analyze can be done through ratios and analyze can be done through right? There are 2 ways to do analysis. You can do analysis through ratios in P7. You can do analysis through comparison in P7. Yes, also through trends, Osama Sabir. So ratios and comparisons includes trends. So you can involve that, right, in your answer. Now, can I do some ratios? Can you see this income statement? Okay, and in this income statement, can I do some ratios? Can I do the ratio here, the operating profit margin? Can I find the ratio number 1, R1, operating profit margin? And should I find the operating profit margin of 2014, 2015, and 2016? Should I find the ratios for all the 3 years? Yes, because 2014 is historical and 15 and 16 is the forecast. So should I know? Okay, should I know is the operating profit margin increasing or decreasing? So should I find operating profit margin as my first ratio? And finance cost, yes, I can find the interest cover, ratio 2. So can I find the finance cost as my interest cover ratio? And can I find the profit margin as my third ratio? So can I analyze 3 ratios from the given information? Can I analyze the operating profit margin? Can I analyze the interest cover? Can I analyze the interest cover? And can I also analyze the profit before tax margin or the profit margin? So can I do 3 ratios? 3 ratios, right? Okay. Now, 3 ratios and see comparisons. How many comparisons can I do? Can I do a comparison of revenue C1? How much revenue has increased from 35 to 43? And how much revenue has increased from 43 to 46? Can I do those comparisons? Increase, decrease. Okay, can I do a comparison for operating expense? C2. Okay, can I do a comparison for the operating profit? C3. Can I do a comparison for the finance cost? C4. Yes, and can I do a comparison for the profit before tax? C5. Every line of the income statement can be converted to comparison. Yes, we can also do the operating expense to revenue ratio. Can we calculate this? Amaduddin Mughal, perfect, you can do that. Agree. But every line can be converted to comparison. So 5 comparisons, everyone agree? And 3 ratios. 5 comparisons and 3 ratios. Right? Now can we see the answer? Technically 5 comparison means 5 procedures. Analysis. 3 ratio means 3 procedures. Analysis. Let's see the answer. 5 comparisons, 3 ratios. Let's go down. See the answer. Right, on page number 8, we will be calculating ratios. Safiullah Riyaz, see the answer. In the answer, you need to show the results. I'm just putting the answer in front of your screen now. Page number 8 of the handout. I have given some student guidance at the start of the answers. These are for you to read. These student guidance is a must for you, right? You should read these student guidance. So please emphasize on the student guidance properly. Now, see my journal procedures. Can you see my journal procedures 1 and 2? Cast the forecast and review the consistency of the accounting policies. And can you see my heading journal procedures? And under the journal procedure, can you see the heading specific procedure? Right? Now, if I go down and see my specific procedure, see what is first. In order. Analyze the forecasted growth in revenue. See, in the bracket, I've shown the results to examiner. Analyze the forecasted growth in revenue. That is 23% in 2015 and 7% in 2016. Bracket close. Now, please remember a rule of thumb. Whenever you analyze something, you have to inquire management. That is embedded. You cannot separate them. When you analyze something, you need to discuss it with management, because who will tell you the reasons? Who will tell you the reason why it has increased or decreased? The reasons will come from the management, right? The management will tell you the reason. So whenever you do analyze, automatically you have to do discussion. You cannot write them as 2 points in exam paper. So whenever you do analyze and discussion goes together, and it will give you 1 mark, right? It will not give you 2 mark. See all my procedures. They start with analyze the forecasted growth in revenue and discuss reasons for such growth with management. Right? See my second point. Analyze the number of tickets sold. Now, how I found the number of tickets sold? The ticket price was given in the case study, right? The ticket price was given in the case study. So I can easily find how many tickets have been sold. So analyze the number of tickets sold. I found the tickets sold for each year. I found the tickets sold for each year. I show that in the bracket and discuss reasons for such trends in tickets sold. Then analyze the forecasted increase in operating expense and discuss reason for such. See how many analysis have I written? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it goes down. See after 10, can you see the verb? Can you see after 10 something is changing? Can you see after 10 something is changing? After the 10th number, can you see something is changing? Analyze. See restriction. Though I had to make 8 procedures, right? But this is the knowledge which is beyond 8. But see, my list was on analyze. But once I completed my list of analyze, see my terms are changing. Review. Again I got analyze, then analyze. So can I come out of my restriction after a certain point in time? Yes, analyze is the proper word to use in exam paper, right? That's a much better word to use in exam paper, analyze. So are you getting sense of analyze? Are you getting sense of analyze? Yes, we can review the ticket prices, right? With other competitors. Can we include this? Yes, that is also included in my handout as well, right? Sharmila Siddiqui. So is everyone getting the sense? Analyze. So whatever you are analyzing, you have to show the results of that in the bracket. No, please use word analyze, not an analytical procedure. Use word analyze. Analyze means that sounds more professional as a manager. The number of tickets is given in the exam paper. The ticket price is given in the exam paper. I think it is $7, $7.50 for 2014, and it's $10 for 2015 and 16. I simply divided the revenue with the number of tickets, with the ticket price, sorry. Yes, you can include any procedures, though I'm repeatedly saying it. Re-performance observation is not in P7. Recalculation and, re-performance and observation is not in P7. But again and again, I'm getting the same question, re-performance, observation, re-performance, observation. Yes, recalculation is part of P7. Recalculation can be included. Kessler, Fias, recalculation can be included. But analyze does not cover recalculation and re-performance. Analyze means something different. Analyze means analyzing the ratios and comparisons. Recalculation means 2 multiplied by 2 is equal to 4. Recalculation means 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2. So recalculation is like a formula. Analyze means a ratio. Analyze means a trend. Analyze means a comparison. Okay, is everyone getting a clear picture of these procedures? Is everyone getting my list of procedures on the screen and seeing divided them into journal and specific? So can you make an answer like such, journal specific, and can you focus on analysis more? So is that not easy to make procedures on PFI because you stick to journal and analysis? Right, is everyone clear with these procedure making exercise? Okay, thank you so much for those feedbacks. Okay, let's move back. Let's see one thing quickly down now. We were on that exam paper, but I need to focus back on Okay, so is these 8 marks now clear to everyone? Cast and recalculation, difference between cast and recalculation. Cast is simply the arithmetical checks. It's just to check 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Recalculations is like making a formula. Let's say I can say recalculate the amortization expense. I can say recalculate the depreciation expense. I can say recalculate the finance cost. But I'll say the cast the financial statements, because cast the financial statement means all plus minus. Okay, is everyone clear with that now? If everyone know how to attack a question like such, right? So June 14 is been in the session. I want you to do June 12 for tomorrow. June 12, question number 2, question 2 of the June 12 exam. It also have it is just the replica of the question we are doing currently. So June 12th, question number 2 is what you will be doing, and please make the same mind mapping. Make the same mind mapping. Make the same mind mapping. Yes, AP plus inquiry is equal to 1 procedure, Aksa Zahid. Yes, they are embedded. They are embedded. 1 procedure, 1 mark. Okay, time to change not the topic but the type of the question. The type of the question. So let's go back for a minute. Is everyone clear with this now? Procedures, PFI, journal specific. Right? Okay, let's now do the second exercise. And please do read my answers. Please do read my answers properly so that things becomes more crystal clear. Though some of the students are in agreement, they already got a crystal clear concept. But for the rest of the attendees, please, if you want to get a crystal clear concept, please go over my answers. See how I have written down analyze and discussions. Right? So please go down with that. Please go down with that. Okay, moving ahead. Now, just before starting with forensic, can you see this grid of exam papers which has come in past on PFI? That was exactly what I was discussing. Matters in agreeing the terms of engagement. Now you know that. You will do the June 12 paper, right? Matters before accepting the engagement. That was in the June 14 we just did. So you know these. You know how to write procedures now. Procedures have come in June 12. Procedures have come in June 14. Procedure have come in December 16. So you know how to write procedures. I have already differentiated between matters. Fahad Shabir, I think you missed that out. I made that on the slide. So you know procedures, right? Okay, now one last thing and one very unusual thing which has come in December 16 exams. Now you're going for March 18 exams, so you should not ignore December 16. Something which has come in December 16, apart from, see, December 16 paper had procedures. Now you know what is to be done with procedures, right? But December 16 exam also had something very new. It has appropriateness of the forecast. The examiner asked appropriateness of the forecast for in the December 16 exams. Okay, let's put the December 16 exams in front of you so that you can have a better idea that there was something different in December 16 exams which you should be understanding. Okay, December 16 exams. Please ensure that you do it. Please ensure that you do this question, because after December 16 is your exam sitting, which is March 18. Right? So you cannot ignore December 16. December 16 is such an important question which can set the track for March 18 exams. What if you get the same question in March 18? Same requirements. So be prepared. Okay, let's see what is the requirements. Yes, I'm clearing, Asim Iqbal, just 5 minutes. Okay, see what is the question asking. Now, whenever you are you are reading a requirement in P7, please ensure one thing, that first of all you should know the marks, which I have been emphasizing from day one, and spend 2 minutes on requirement. Spend 2 to 3 minutes on requirement so that you exactly know how much time is to be allocated on the marks. Okay, see how many things the examiner is asking. There is a technique. When you read the requirement A and B, whichever topic, right? Whichever topic. See, can you see this word and here? And can you see this word and here? Right? So that means the and is breaking the requirement. And how many times I've seen students that they think the 14 marks is for one thing, whereas the 14 marks here is being divided into two things. Can you see the clear visible and in the requirement A? And can you see the clear visible and in the requirement B? So will that make difference to the marking scheme? Okay, let's see what is before and what is after and. If I see before and, it says evaluate the appropriateness of the cash flow prepared. Evaluate the appropriateness of the cash flow prepared. Now this carries 7 marks. I've divided that into 2, right? So evaluate the appropriateness carries 7 marks. And see what is the examiner asking after evaluating? The examiner is asking, recommend the further procedures. Now you know what is to be done with procedures, right? How many marks will I take for procedures here? How many marks will I take for procedures here? 7. Right? So 7 marks. And you know these procedures have to focus on what? These procedures have to focus on AP and inquiry, right? And after AP and inquiry, you can do anything. Now, I'm not going down with these 7 procedures. You know you can write journal procedures. You can write specific procedures. So you know exactly what is to be done with procedures, right? The only unusual thing which is in this question, which I need to address very properly, is this evaluate the appropriateness is the unique thing here, right? I should focus on this as my key. Okay, let's see the second requirement and then start preparing ourselves for it. The second requirement says comment. Second requirement says comment on the matters. Comment on the matters to be considered in respect of the loan. Comment on the matters in respect of the loan. What matters will I write here? Is anyone clever on these attendees on the webinar? Who is clever? Who will comment on the matters in respect of the loan? Comment on the matters in respect of loan. Perfect. MTR. Good answers. All of you were giving that. Loan is an accounting matter, right? Loan is an accounting matter. Loan is an accounting treatment. So if loan is an accounting treatment, that the matters here means M, the matter here means the T, the matter here means the R. This was exactly what we did in the class yesterday, evidence webinar. Loan is something accounting, right? So for a loan, I should write its materiality. For a loan, I should write its treatment. And for the loan, I should write its risk of material misstatement. So how many marks will I take from those contexts? 3. And then see what is the examiner asking. Recommend procedures on the loan. So how many marks will those recommend procedures take? 3. So is that question clear to everyone? How to identify how much marks goes which ways? Perfect. So let's do a quick exercise and then shift towards forensic. Okay, now when I go back for just a minute, just want to make one thing clear. Will make the answer looks very easier. This December 16 question 3 is asking us how many things? 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first thing the question is asking us is to evaluate the appropriateness. Evaluate the appropriateness of the cash flow. The second requirement is asking us what? The second requirement is asking us to write procedures on cash flow forecast. The third requirement is asking us to write matters on the loan. And the fourth requirement is asking us to write procedures on loan. Procedures on loan. Now see, I know how much marks to gain. Evaluate the appropriateness, I had 7 marks. Procedures on cash flow, I have 7 marks. Matters on loan, I have 3 marks. And procedures on loan, I have 3 marks. Now see the next thing. Matters on loan, I know the matters on loan means M. Matters on loan means T. Matter on loan means R. And you get your 3 marks done. Right? Procedure on loans, when I'm writing procedures on loan, so I can write procedures which start with verbs. And you know procedures, how to start procedures from day 3 yesterday. And procedures on loan, how many you have to make? You have to make 3 procedures on loan. The next, how many procedures I have to make on a cash flow forecast? 7. 7 marks means 7p. 7 procedures. And procedures will focus on what? Journal. And procedures will focus on specific. And specific will focus on AP and inquiry. Is that true? And then I have to evaluate the appropriateness. Now, is that the new requirement we are learning? I hope the first 3 requirements is more or less a repetition of coming from either today or yesterday. Procedures on forecast, matters on loan, and procedures on loan. Is everyone clear with the 3 columns? Okay, but is the first column a new learning? Evaluate the appropriateness, and we have 7 marks, right? So every time the examiner asks you to evaluate the appropriateness, evaluate of the appropriateness carries 1.5 marks per appropriateness. So how many evaluations we should do for 1.5 marks? How many evaluations? 1.5 marks? Yes, approximately 5. 5 evaluations. Is that clear? See this. This is December 16, question number 3, and that carries 20 marks. And you do a question like such without making these 4 columns and knowing how much marks is allocated to which requirement and what exactly should I do within the requirement, and you're totally blank and you attack the 20 marks. What answer will you get out of it? Will you get a complete answer? Will you get a proper answer, complete answer? If you just look at the 20 marks and you don't know how much marks has been allocated where and what I should do within marks, will that make an impact? Because I'm repeating this again and again as we move closer towards the day 5 tomorrow and the last day on Saturday. Will this be done in your attempt? Will you be doing this in your attempt? That will take just 2 to 3 minutes of every question, but will that refine your answer you write on the answer booklet? So please, you have time before 5th of March. Do this at home. Do this at home before you do it on the 5th of March. Become so good on that that this becomes something spontaneous on the 5th of March. So I hope you will practice on reading requirements, you will practice on planning requirements, and the answer becomes so crystal clear. So is everyone clear with that? Let's quickly go with evaluate the appropriateness. Now, let's see what does that mean. We just need to learn evaluate the appropriateness of the cash flow statements, right? Okay. Evaluate the appropriateness of the cash flow statement. Let's first quickly understand that and then go back with the 7 marks answer. Okay, let's learn that. This has come just once, right? It might come in your exam sitting in March 18. Take my words very properly here. Evaluate the appropriateness. What if this comes in your exam sitting in March 18? Don't be blank. Evaluate the appropriateness of the cash flow forecast. Now, what exactly this means? This exactly means that the examiner is asking you to evaluate the appropriateness of the forecast. Forecast can be anything, right? In March 18, you might get profit forecast, for example. In March 18, you get a capital expenditure forecast. Whatever the forecast is, what are we evaluating? We are evaluating the appropriateness. Evaluate means critical. Evaluate means you will critically look at the appropriateness. Appropriateness of what? Appropriateness of what? Appropriateness of the assumptions taken by the management. Assumptions taken by the management. Right? Critical evaluation of the assumptions. Now, obviously, cash flow forecast is based upon assumptions, and those assumptions are taken by the management. So should the auditor critically review the assumptions to ensure these assumptions are either right or these assumptions are either wrong? So can the critical evaluation results into both sides? We can look at an assumption and we can say, no, this assumption sounds good. And we can say, no, this assumption sounds wrong. Can it be both ways? Critical means that it can go both ways. So critical evaluation means either it can be right, either it can be wrong. So we have to read the case for that. Is everyone clear with the concept of this requirement? Is everyone understanding what is to be done with this requirement? Both positive, negative, yes, Sumaya Hassan. But there could be both things. You need to critically evaluate. If you think this is positive, negative, both. Okay, let's go back to the exam paper and see, can we do the evaluation of the... No, we'll not exactly say it's wrong. I'll just show you my answer, right? We will not exactly say this is wrong. We'll use a professional sentence, a professional jargon. Okay, let's go to the question again. Okay, now appropriateness of the assumptions. Now, when you look at this question, this question has assumptions. These are all assumptions, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 assumptions, right? So we have to critically evaluate these assumptions. Can all of you see these 5 assumptions? So can we use every assumption to score 1.5 marks? Okay, now when you look at these assumptions 1, 2, 3, 4, look at this assumption number 4th first. Look at this. On the 1st October, the chief executive, Jay Stewart, gave company a 3-year loan. The audit team was unaware of this loan prior to obtaining the cash flow forecast. Do we have separate marks for this loan? The loan from Jay Stewart. Is the examiner giving us separate marks for this loan in the 20 marks question? Is the examiner asking us comment on the matters we should consider for loan? Yes. And is the examiner asking us make procedures on loan? So this fourth bullet has a B requirement. So will I utilize this in my A requirement? Will I utilize this in my A requirement? Yes, it has separate marks, right? So will I utilize this in my A requirement? No, I'll utilize this in my B requirement. So how many things I have left with A requirement? For A requirement, I have been left with this. For A, I've left with this for A. I've left this with A and the last one. So I have 4 assumptions to make up my 7 marks answer, right? Right? So can you sense the planning I'm doing and how much planning is important to make a good answer? I have seen so many students when even they're sitting in a classroom that they have their question paper so neat and clean. How can your question paper be neat and clean? Your question paper should have evidence that you've planned the answer. Your question paper should have evidence that you have done something before attacking the answer. And a lot of time I've seen students question paper so neat and clean. It cannot not even justify have they read the case or read the requirements or not. Okay, let's go one step ahead. Receipt from customer. I'm reading the first one, right? Receipt from customers and payment to suppliers have been estimated based upon a sales forecast prepared by the sales director. Can we forecast receipt from customers on the basis of sales forecast? Usama Sabir, no. Yes. Sharmila Siddiqui, yes, that's good. Sales forecast, can that be related with receipt from customers? Yes. And can a sales forecast relate with payment to suppliers? No. So can I relate sales with receipt or can I relate sales with payment to supplier? So what is wrong here? Is payment to supplier wrong or is receipt from customer wrong? What is wrong? Receipt or payment? What is wrong? Payment, exactly. What is wrong? Payment. Payment, exactly. So see what I have to do. Receipt from customer and payment to supplier has been estimated based upon a detailed sales forecast prepared by the sales director. Now, see how many marks will I take from here? I go back to my PowerPoint and I write the same point here. Sales forecast. Now just see how much marks you take. First of all, I'll say the sales forecast was prepared by the sales director, right? It was prepared by the sales director or by the finance director. The sales forecast has been prepared by which director? Finance director, sales director. Okay, it has been prepared by the sales director. So is that something relevant? Is that something good? Is the sales director competent enough to prepare a sales forecast? Yes, so will I take 1.5 marks here for appreciating this, that the sales director made this? Will I take 1.5 marks for critically evaluating the appropriateness? No, he does not have the authority to forecast purchase, but I'm talking about does he has an authority to make a sales forecast? Does he that is wrong. That is wrong. But the right thing is, does he has an authority to prepare a sales forecast? Yes. And has he made the sales forecast? He has, right? Number two says prepared by the sales director. Number 2 says that we had estimated we had estimated receipts from customers. We had estimated receipts from customer on the basis of the sales forecast. So do sales and receipts have a correlation? Do receipts and sales have a correlation? Receipts from customer and sales forecast, do they have a correlation? Yes. So can I say estimated receipts from customer sale on the basis of the sales forecast, this is also right, and this is also correlated. So can I estimate receipts from customer on the basis of sales forecast? I think that sounds more logical, right? So am I in favor of this now? And again, am I taking 1 point? So am I taking 1.5 marks for that? So this sales forecast is prepared by a director, 1.5 mark. Second, the sales forecast relates with the receipt from customer is another 1.5 mark. But payment to supplier cross. Will I criticize payment to supplier? Can a payment to supplier be linked with sales forecast? No. So how many marks can I take from the first assumption? How many marks can I take from the first assumption? What have you understood so far? 3? No, 4.5. 4.5 is the right answer, Ubaid Rahman. 1.5 mark for appreciating the sales director that he prepared the sales forecast. 1.5 mark for receipt from customer to sales forecast. And a 1.5 mark for criticizing that how can a payment to supplier be linked to sales forecast. So are you understanding the sense of evaluate the appropriateness of the assumption? Is everyone understanding that sense evaluate the appropriateness of assumption? So I have to see the assumption. Is it right? Is it wrong? Let's do one more exercise. Salaries and overheads have been estimated as the prior year cost plus a journal inflation of 2%. Is that something of a good assumption that salaries and overhead has been estimated as a prior year cost plus a journal inflation of 2%? Is that something good? Can salary only increase on the last year cost multiplied by 1.02? Do salary only increase on inflation? So is that a right assumption or a wrong assumption? Is that a right assumption? No. So will I criticize this assumption? Will I criticize this assumption? Will I say, no, this is a wrong assumption? Salary do increase on inflation, right? But salary does not only increase on inflation. Salary has so many elements, right? Salary includes increments, salary includes new appointments, salary includes terminations, salary includes bonuses. There are so many things in salaries, right? So is that assumption wrong, the second one? So 4.5 marks and another 1.5 marks. See, where are you standing? Are you standing at 6 marks? So is everyone getting a sense of this answer? Yes, overheads should be appreciated as well. Why it is wrong, sir? Muhammad Amir, salary in any company, does salary only grows by the last year cost multiplied by 1.02? Does salary only have an inflation impact? What if the last year you had 500 employees and this year you had 1,000 employees? Muhammad Amir, I want a yes and no answer from you. Salary only increased by 1.02, the inflation? Or salary also includes the bonuses, the salary also include the number of employees. So is that realistic? So please do see my answer, how to write an answer for critically evaluate the appropriateness of the assumptions. But I hope you get sense whenever you get a question like such, see the assumptions and try proving whether the assumptions are right or wrong. And if you think the assumption is right, you will still appreciate that. And if you think the assumption is wrong, you will criticize that and you will take 1.5 marks. Okay, one last thing. If I go back for one final exercise before the namaz break, when the examiner says evaluate evaluate the appropriateness of cash flow. So I'll evaluate the appropriateness of the assumptions, right? And assumptions can be there might be some assumptions which are right. So I'll appreciate them. And there might be some assumptions which are wrong. So I'll criticize them. And for every right, I take 1.5. For every wrong, I take 1.5. Is everyone clear with that? Yes, at the end of the day, Sarah Khan, you can give a conclusion. After doing all the 5 analysis, you can give a conclusion that broadly are they right or broadly are they wrong. You can give a conclusion. It's fine. It's fine to go with that. So appropriateness is the most important thing we often skip in exams, right? Yes. So please, this is in December 16 exams. Please practice it. Please practice it. It looks important for March 18 exams. It looks important for March 18 exam. Please see my answer. Please see my answer. Please ensure that you are going with this appropriateness very effectively, because that is exactly something which is very, very important, and you cannot ignore that for the March 18 exams. Is this requirement come with SFP? Okay, is everyone clear so far with the cash flows and the PFI and the prospective financial information? Is everyone clear with the structure of the topic PFI? Is everyone clear with exactly what is to be done in PFI? How many questions you have to practice on PFI? How many questions you have to practice on PFI? 3. June 12, June 14, December 16. And which one is more important? Which one is more important? The December 16, right? And is everyone clear with what does matter means? Matters before accepting. I'll make one quick list post namaz break for 5 minutes. And post namaz break, I'll be starting with forensic. Forensic will be the agenda for the later 35 minutes we have for the day to day. Let's see what can we understand for forensic. Okay, we're taking the namaz break. We are taking the namaz break. It's 8:15 p.m. the local Pakistan Standard Time. We'll be resuming at 8:25 p.m. the Pakistan Standard Time. And post namaz break, we'll be looking at forensic as the topic. Welcome back. Post namaz break. Just a quick 2 to 3 minutes on the wrapping up of the PFI, and then we're starting on with the forensic, the last of the other assignments, which is very important for the March 18 exams. Okay, if we just move on with the last word on PFI, or rather the recap on PFI, so that you all have a clear picture. Now, when we have a last word on PFI, from an exam point of view, we should know that first PFI came in June 12 and you have to practice. June 14 you have to practice, and it came in December 16 you have to practice, and I'm emphasizing on December 16. Second, you should know what is the question on PFI. The question on PFI focus on many aspects. The question on PFI focus on matters. Interestingly, we got so many matters. We got matters before accepting engagement, and I have given you the list. Matters for agreeing the terms of engagement, and I've given you a list of that. And the third matters we came across was the matters on loan, and the matters on loan was the exercise we did on the day 3 yesterday. That was MTR. Now then also you should know that a question on PFI also focuses on procedures, which is the key part of it. Procedures is the key of PFI. And then you should know that the procedures are either journal or they are specific, and the specific one are restricted to AP and inquiry. Then you should also know that apart from the procedures, journal, specific, AP and inquiry, another requirement of this question is to have evaluate the appropriateness, which we just did prior to break. Evaluate the appropriateness of the forecast, rather than saying cash flow, forecast in journal. And you know exactly what is to be done with this requirement. Now we know matters before carries 1.5 marks. Matters to agree the terms of condition carries 1.5 marks. The MTR carries 3 marks. I hope you remember the breakdown of MTR yesterday. Every M1, T1, R1, right? Okay, then when you look at the procedures is 1 mark per procedure. And then evaluate the appropriateness, because it has just come once, so the marking scheme used by the examiner was 1.5 marks per evaluation. I hope you're clear with that structure. Is everyone clear with that? Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear with that? What does evaluation means? I just made clear, Waqar Ali, prior to namaz break, evaluation of the appropriateness. Evaluate the appropriateness of the cash flow statement, the question we just did. Muhammad Amir, I've taken your request into consideration, but that's not possible. This 3-hour webinar includes the time for break. Obviously, 3 hours cannot be uninterrupted. You need to take namaz break in between. So within a 3-hour session, 20 minutes is like something acceptable to go down with. The session starts on time, ends on time, but obviously this 20-minute breaks is something very essential considering the diversity of the audience and the attendees on this webinar. Okay, apart from that, is everyone clear? Last word on PFI, is everyone clear with that? How has been the session so far on PFI? How many of you had clear minds on PFI now? And how many of you think you have confidence now on PFI, and you will practice obviously to make it better? So how many of you have got your minds clear on PFI, and how many of you think that the PFI discussion in the last 1.5 hour has made your mindset very clear on the topic, and you have a very clear focus now? So is everyone becoming clear on PFI? And obviously needs a practice, right? Everyone needs a practice, so you need to practice to refine it. But I hope this final flow chart or final mind map in front of you would help you a long way in your exams. I hope you got the better understanding of PFI now, right? Okay, thank you so much for that. Let's start with forensic. I'll take a final feedback at the end in the last 5 minutes. Okay, now finally starting on with forensic. Forensic is another assignment, part of P7, which is very important for March 18 exams, and that is the reason it has been discussed in the webinar, right? Now let's first understand some basic things about there are only 3 questions, so obviously you have to practice 3 questions. Muhammad Tahir Ansari repeatedly telling you there is June 12, there is June 14, there is December 16. There is not a 4th question on forecast. There's not a 4th question on PFI. Okay, forensic. Forensic literally means investigation. So forensic literal meaning, the dictionary meaning means to investigate a fraudulent activity in P7, right? Investigate a fraudulent activity is the context of the P7 paper. Now, when forensic is an investigation and an investigation of a fraud act and a fraud activity that would be given in the case in P7, forensic being an investigation has no assurance, because obviously when you do forensic investigation, you're not giving any assurance. You're doing an investigation. Investigation does not have an assurance, right? Investigation means what? Investigation means fact finding. When you're conducting an investigation, you are doing a fact finding. And when you're conducting a fact finding, so fact finding has no assurance. What are we finding? We are doing an investigation on a fraud. And what is the fact finding? 3. How it happened, who did it, and the amount of loss. Now, what is the focus of a fact finding? The focus of the fact finding is to interrogate. The focus of the fact finding is to identify how it happened, who did it, amount of loss. So that's all part of fact finding. So when you do fact finding, there is no assurance. So forensic has no assurance, right? And what's the scope of assurance? What's the scope of forensic? How it happened, who did it, amount of loss. So forensic is an agreed upon procedure. ISRS 4400. If anyone wants to remember the references, obviously, because a lot of students are obsessed with references. So if you just want to go with references, ISRS 4400 deals with forensic agreed upon procedure. One of the key features of forensic auditing is that the auditor can be asked to appear as an expert witness in the court to explain the evidence gathered. I think one of the distinct features of forensic is that the management can take the culprit who has done the fraud, or the management can take the criminal who has done the fraud to court. And if the management takes the criminal to the court, then the management can call you to the court as an auditor, because you are an expert witness, right? So when you are an expert witness and you have gathered evidence, you should give that evidence to the court. So the only additional step the auditor has to do when he's conducting a forensic investigation is to appear in a court only if the management takes the case to the court. So these are key facts of forensic. Forensic is no assurance. Forensic is the fact finding, and forensic means how it happened, who did it, amount of loss. Now, what is the focal point? What comes in exam paper? In terms of exam paper, see the 4 steps process of forensic investigation. Yes, advocacy is permissible in forensic, Farwa Batul. I'll clarify that. Advocacy is permissible in forensic. Perfect. Look at the first four process. Is that what we do in any service? Is the first four is what we do in any service? If order to do any service starts with acceptance, then you do planning, then you gather evidence, and then you give a report. Are these four steps common in any service? Everyone agrees with that? Are the four steps common in every service? The attendees, your enthusiasm, your yes and no answers, is these first four process part of every assignment? Yes, and that's part of forensic even. What's different? Court proceeding. So I just mentioned court proceeding is something exceptional and is the more important part of forensic investigation. So the auditor can go to the court if so requested by the management. Now, out of the process, obviously reporting has never been part of P7. Reporting comes on audit report, right? Reporting comes on the audit side. Acceptance has been examinable, planning has been examinable, evidence has been examinable. In terms of forensic, I'm talking about, right? So let's see the exam focus of forensic, and let's see how forensic has come in the past paper. Forensic accounting, forensic auditing is one of the same thing in terms of broader sense. Yes, but the examiner has tried to make a difference in the article. What is forensic accounting? What is forensic investigation? But again, that was initially in 2009 paper. So you should not be worried about that in the March 18 exams. Forensic accounting, forensic audit. At the end of the day, these are interchangeable words when we use them in a market language. But from an exam point of view, should you know the definitions? That was way back in December 2009. So that's part of my regular classes, but obviously in the webinar context, when you're just focusing on the key aspects, it could not be put into account. Okay, exam paper. On a forensic, when you look at an exam paper, this grid in front of you tells you what has been the part of exam paper. Now, interestingly, carefully look at the grid. Forensic has come in 11, forensic has come in 12, forensic has come in 13, forensic has come in 15. In all the four instances, thrice, forensic had procedures in 15, procedures in 13, procedures in 12. So again, what is the focal point of forensic? This is the critical success factor of forensic, just like PFI. So how many times procedures have come? 3 out of 4 times. So is that something important in forensic to know? Exactly. Okay, the second thing. Planning has come once in forensic. Ethical and professional issues have come once in 2011. Now you know ethical and professional issues, right? You can identify ethical and professional issues not just from audit. You can find ethical and professional issues also from forensic. And matters. See, matters are not leaving you. Matters is such a common term in P7. Matters before accepting, matters in agreeing the terms of engagement, matters MTR. Now again, the matters are coming, but this time the matters are coming for theft and insurance claim, and matters are coming for planning and investigation. These grids are for you. These grids are to be used by you so that you know in which exam sitting this question has come in, and you should exactly know that what was the nature of the question which has come on forensic. Yes, in a forensic question, procedure is the most important thing and matter is the most important thing. Apart from that, whatever the examiner can give depends upon attempt to attempt, but something which is very static is procedures and matters. Okay, let's do an exercise. Let's go to the case. Forensic. Okay, can all of you see this question in front of you? This is June 13, question 2B. This is the first one we are taking in the webinar for understanding what exactly is the temperament of forensic. Waqar Ali, I'll share my WhatsApp number at the end of the webinar. because this has been a repeated request. It's been day 4 and still students are asking my WhatsApp number, though it has been shared on a daily basis. I'll share that. Okay, now just focus on the question, right? Again, will we do the planning of 12 marks? There are 12 marks which has been allocated by the examiner. There are 12 marks which has been allocated by the examiner on forensic. Right? Now we should do the planning of the 12 marks. So let's see how much we have to do. 12 marks. Examiner says the total marks will be split between each requirement. So examiner saying the total marks will be split equally between each requirement. So 6 marks for 1 and 6 marks for 2. Now 6 for 1, 6 for 2. Now let's see the same thing we did just prior to the break. Can you see this word "and" here? Right? So the "and" means these 6 marks will be divided between something before and something after "and." Let's see what is the examiner asking. It says, in respect of the theft and insurance claim. In respect of the theft and in respect of the insurance claim, identify and explain the matters to be considered. So how many marks should I allocate to the matters? Out of the 6, 3. Matters, on what should I be writing the matter? This is June 13, question 2B. Should I be writing matters for theft and insurance claims? Yes. So in respect of theft and insurance claim, identify and explain the matters to be considered. So should I be writing matters for theft and insurance claim? 3 marks. And the steps to be taken in planning. So how many marks should I write for steps to be taken in planning? 3. So 3 marks for steps in planning, 3 marks for matters for theft and insurance claim. And then the examiner says recommend the procedures for the amount of claim. So how many procedures will I write? How many procedures should I write? Recommend the procedures for the amount of claim. I should be writing how many procedures? 6 procedures, right? 6 marks. Should I write procedures on anything or should I write procedures on amount of claim? I should only write procedures on amount of claim, or I can write procedures on anything. On the amount of claim, right? So is the examiner specifying what should I be doing? Okay, exactly, good. Okay, so how many things I need to do for 12 marks? For 12 marks, I need to focus on matters for theft and insurance claim. Then I need to focus on steps in planning. And then I should focus on the amount of claim procedures. Okay, now let's make an exercise. Okay, let's make an exercise. Okay, now in terms of the exercise, right? Now this question, June 13, question number 2B had how many marks? 12. And into how many parts the 12 was divided? 1, 2, and 3. What was the first thing the examiner was asking us? Methods. Then what was the examiner asking us? Steps. Steps in planning. And then what was the examiner asking us? Procedures. Now, how many marks I have for matters? 3. Planning 3. Procedures 6. Now, matters is MTR here. Matters is MTR here. Matters is MTR here. No, the matter is for theft. The matter is for insurance. The matter is for insurance claim. We are not writing matters, right? We're not writing matters for MTR. We're writing matters for theft and insurance claim because that was so clearly given in the question, right? Steps in planning. Anyone knows what are steps in planning? Because planning is something you do in F8 paper. What are steps in planning? How many steps are there in planning? How many steps are there in planning? There are 4 steps in planning. The first step in planning is scope. The second step in planning is timing. The third step in planning is direction. And the fourth step in planning is resources. So we plan for scope, we plan for timing, we plan for direction, we plan for resources. Now, these 4 steps can be used anywhere. Whatever question you're doing on planning includes 4 things, right? Whether you're doing planning of forensic, you're doing planning of PFI, you're doing planning of audit, whatever planning you're doing, you can do 4 steps of planning. So planning irrespective. Scope, timing, direction, resources. Now, out of the 4, how many should I be writing for 3 marks? I should only be writing 3, right? I should only be writing 3. Okay. Procedures. Now, procedures is so much been coming from day 3. We even discussed procedures today. You know, procedure means 6 marks is equal to 6 procedures, but the procedures have to be written on amount of claim. So again, see the planning. The planning will make things so clear. You should know what is to be done. We have to write matters. I have seen so many students, they see the word matter and they start writing MTR. No, MTR cannot be fit every time. Over here, the matters are for theft and insurance claims, right? Over here, the matters are for theft and insurance claims. So cannot write MTR. MTR only comes in evidence. MTRs only comes in accounting issues, just like a loan we did in December 16 today. Okay. So is everyone clear with the 3 columns now? So steps in planning, scope, timing, direction, resources, irrespective of the subject matter. And procedure means 6. Okay, let's go back, start with the exercise. What are steps in planning? Sorry, what are steps in, what are theft? What are matters for theft? Matters for theft and matters for insurance claim. It is so easy question. The matters for theft. The matters of theft is who did it. The matters for theft is how it happened. The matter for theft is was the culprit identified? Who did it exactly? Was the police informed? Was the police informed for the theft? Was the police informed? So it's something very natural. If a theft happens in a company, obviously you will have something in your mind. Who did it? How it happened? Was the culprit identified? Was the police informed? So we have 3 marks. I've written 4. I've already taken 4 marks. You need to properly put them in sentences. You have to put them in a proper sentences to make marks. Yes, when it happened. And insurance, what matters will you write for insurance? Have we informed the insurance company? Have we informed the insurance company? Have we informed the insurance company? Insurance, do we have a insurance policy? Do we have an insurance policy? Can we claim, etc. So, yes, was the stock insured partially or fully? Agree, Sarah Khan, with that. Limit of claim, Saima Mazhar. Exactly, perfect, good answers. Theft is covered with insurance. Yes, we can ask management, though it's given in the case even. So if anything is given in case, we'll not write that. But generally, you can write points for insurance. Good points are coming from students. And you can write points for theft. So you just need to score 3 marks on matters. And these are matters for theft and insurance claim. And again, that's given in my answer. Please see my answer as well. Okay. Next, what we need to do, steps in planning. When we are writing the steps in planning, please see the question at the end of the webinar, but when you are writing steps in planning, naturally, the steps in planning are 4: scope, timing, direction, and resources. So I just told you that these steps in planning are irrespective. You can write these steps anywhere whenever you get a question on planning. So scope, you are planning for your scope. So when you're planning for your scope, you should know what is your objective. You should know what are laws applicable to your scope. You should know what are the boundaries. So auditor should know the scope very well. Auditor should know exactly what he needs to do. So should the auditor know what are my applicable laws? What is my objective? What are my boundaries? So should the auditor know the scope? Should the auditor know the timings? The timing means should the auditor know the deadlines to plan? Should the auditor make a timetable according to the deadlines? So we do make deadlines, we do make a timetable, right, for achieving a deadline, that is timing. Direction, should I know my direction? Should I know where to focus on? Where to focus on? In a question I'm doing, what is my focus? Being an auditor, where should I focus on? What is my direction? Can anyone identify that? What is my direction in the question I'm doing, June 13, question 2B? Yes, my direction is theft. My direction is assurance. No, Amjad Ali, Wakar Ali, this is not an assurance engagement. My direction is to determine the amount of claim. Was that given in the question? To determine the amount of claim? So I was hired. I was hired for what? I was hired for the amount of claim. So is that my objective? Is that my direction? Where to focus on to determine the amount of claim? So should I know where to focus on? And lastly, should I know my resources? Should I plan for using specialized resources? Should I plan for using specialized resources? Will that lead to a better service? Should I plan for specialized resources? Because specialized resources will boost the quality of my service. Boost quality of my service. Is that true? So can we write these four anywhere in P7 when the examiner asks you something about planning? So planning includes the scope, planning includes the timing, planning includes the direction, and planning includes the resources. Consider cost and time, yes, but these are four very specific things in planning. I'll prefer you stick to them. But more importantly, the answer of scope, timing, direction, resources is in my answer, in the answer you have. So please see how to write them properly. But I've just tried giving you a structure, and the structure can help you out in most of the exam papers. Is everyone clear with that? Scope, timing, direction, resources? Can you make use of this list of planning anywhere in a question on planning? So can you remember this? Scope, timing, direction, resources. I think that's very easier. Scope, timing, direction, resources. Okay, so one last thing left is now procedures. Now, we have done procedures so many times now. So let's make one final list of procedures today so that we exit from this topic. Okay, let's take one more thing. Procedures. We are making procedures for what? We are making procedures for forensic. And forensic is what? Forensic is an investigation. So if forensic is an investigation, see, I just told you that PFI is a moderate assurance, right? So when we are conducting a PFI, we have to stick to AP and inquiry. But when I'm conducting an investigation, should I have some boundaries, or in investigation I can do anything? In investigation, can I do anything? Does investigation has a boundary? No, investigation is something which has no boundaries, because when you're conducting an investigation, you have no boundaries of investigations. Yes, so in an investigation, can I do all my procedures? I can review something in investigation. I can recalculate something in investigation. I can I can discuss something in investigation. I can do analytical procedures in investigations. Yes, even the CCTV camera, right? I can watch the footage of the CCTV which is in the case study. So I can even watch, because in investigation you are open to do anything, right? But in investigation you are open to do anything in the exam paper. A lot of students was asking me observation re-performance throughout the session. Yes, this is a topic where you can do observation and re-performance, because this is for investigation. All audit procedures, right? All audit procedures. ACCA, Zahid, perfect. All audit procedures. So investigation, you can do anything. You can do review, recalculation, discuss AP. You can do observations, you can do re-performances, whether you can do anything. So is everyone clear with that? So investigation has any boundaries of checking? 100% checking, exactly. So does it has any boundaries? Can we do anything writing procedures in forensic? So in forensic, can we write any procedure? Do we have any boundaries? Do we have any boundaries? No, we don't have any boundaries, right? We can do any procedures. Okay, good. Okay, we're just coming to the last few minutes of the webinar. I'll just again in the day 5 tomorrow, which is a very important day for reporting, and reporting is such an important area in P7, and I hope a lot of you have a lot of queries on reporting, considering the new format of the report, and a lot of students are very blur on reporting. So reporting will be a very important agenda coming on day 5 tomorrow, but I will be taking the first 15-20 minutes. I'll be taking the first 15 minutes of the day tomorrow to emphasize on forensic again. Let's make one thing very clear for day 5 tomorrow. Day 5, I'll be back on forensic, but I'll be back on forensic from the 6 to 6:30. Then I'll be starting with reporting tomorrow, which will be from 6:40 to the end of the session, which is 9. I'll be doing reporting, right? And the session timings is the same tomorrow. I'll see I can reduce some of the time on forensic. I can reduce some of the time on forensic tomorrow, 6:30, 6:20. But reporting will be after the namaz break, the first namaz break. 6:40 will start with reporting. And my WhatsApp number, which has been so eagerly inquired by so many students, is again, I'm putting on the screen my number, which so many students are asking about again and again. This is my WhatsApp number. And please remember one thing, I need your quick feedback on the session today. Please quickly, all the attendees, how good the session was today, and how you liked the session today, what you learned today, was it at par, was it good to be part of the webinar today, and your mindset was cleared, and how many of you are feeling confident so far? It's the day 4. We just left with 2 more days. So at the end of the 4 days, what is your confidence? What is the confidence now for 5th of March? 5th of March, what is your confidence level? 4 days have gone, 2 days are remaining. So are you finding something which can help you pass this time on the 5th of March? So I hope you keep practicing. The day tomorrow is very important, and the day on Saturday is very important. It's not just the mock debriefing on Saturday. It's more about the important for March 18 exams. It's more about how to attempt a 100 marks paper. The day Saturday, please don't miss the day on Saturday. It's such an important day coming on Saturday, and such an important day coming on tomorrow. So I hope all of you are satisfied with the session today. Revise what has been done today, and it was good to see you as enthusiastic as you has been on all the 3 days. I hope these sessions being organized by ACCA Pakistan is helping you a lot, and it is so very good interacting with so diversified audience across these 4 days so far. So, and I wish again every day, I keep wishing you best of luck for your exams. I hope that all of you get through the P7 paper this time. Okay, that is it. We'll meet tomorrow, same time, 6 to 9 p.m.